So if you spend your evening, collapsed on the couch, completely drained after a brutal 14-hour workday.
Right, just totally exhausted.
Yeah. And you're mindlessly doom scrolling through social media just to numb your brain. Well, a 19th century occultist would look you dead in the eye and say you are hopelessly, unforgivably lazy.
Oh, they wouldn't hold back at all.
Not one bit. Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're going on a mission to completely dismantle everything you think you know about magic.
Yeah, we really are.
We are taking it entirely out of that cinematic realm of spooky, superstitious taboos, the drafty basement, the jagged chalk circle.
Mumbling Latin in the dark to barter with a demon.
Exactly. We are moving it away from all of that into something far more demanding. We are talking about a rigorous, exhausting science of psychological self-mastery.
And to do that, we are leaning heavily on this fascinating set of curated curriculum notes.
Yeah.
Specifically, we have an exegesis, basically a deep, critical analysis put together by researcher Ben Hod. And he's breaking down the opening chapter of Eliphas Levi's Ritual of High Magic, which was written back in the mid-19th century.
Okay, let's unpack this, because Levi is really doing something radical here, right?
Oh, absolutely. What's fascinating here is that Levi was essentially dropping a bomb on what occultists call grimoire thinking.
Grimoire thinking. That's the idea that you're just a sorcerer trying to coerce external spirits.
Right. You do a spell, you get a result, and then you just go back to eating your cereal. Levi detonates that entirely. He transitions the practitioner from a part-time sorcerer to an absolute monarch of their own consciousness.
Which brings us right back to that brutal indictment of the exhausted worker on the couch, because Levi says flat out, a lazy man will never be a magician.
Yeah, it's a harsh quote.
But he isn't talking about, a lack of bourgeois industry, is he? I mean, he doesn't mean a couch potato who refuses to get a job. It's much more insidious.
Way more insidious. Levi defines laziness as slavery to inertia.
Slavery to inertia.
Exactly. A lazy person is someone whose attention is externally commanded. I mean, you might be running around answering 100 emails, right?
Managing a team, paying a mortgage.
Sure, all of that. If your life is characterized by endless emotional weather and reactive appetites, like if a rude comment ruins your morning or a phone notification hijacks your focus, you are lazy in his framework.
You are completely unavailable to yourself.
Right. The lazy person cannot direct their own internal climate. Levi is actually smugging some heavy stoicism here. It's very Marcus Aurelius.
So in that context, the traditional idea of a magic ritual, drawing a circle, lighting a candle, doing the spell, and then returning to your normal reactive life, that's completely useless.
Worse than useless, honestly. It's a fundamental misunderstanding of the mechanism. Levi argues that magic is exercised at all hours and at all moments.
So it's a 247 job.
Absolutely. The ritual is merely a rehearsal for the mind. The operation itself is permanent. If we trace the word magician back through the Greek magos to its Persian religious roots, it describes someone who orders reality through strict alignment with invisible law.
Okay, so wait. If the operation is permanent, then every single preference you repeat becomes an invocation?
Yes. Every habit you entertain is literally a sigil being actively burned into the fabric of reality.
That is wild. I want to look at the cure for this disease of inertia then. Because if being tossed around by external forces is the problem, Levi's solution is to become the absolute master of yourself.
Yeah, and the Latin root there is really key, absolutus.
Absolutus, meaning what? Detached?
Loosened, untied, detached. You literally had to detach your will from competing jurisdictions.
Right, but look at what he says we need to master. He gives a very specific list of things that must be subjugated. Pleasure, sleep, success, and insults.
It's brutalist.
It really is. Ignoring pleasure and sleep sounds identical to extreme asceticism. I mean, it sounds like monks living in caves eating stale bread. Is Levi telling us to do this just to be pious?
No, not at all. He isn't talking about morality or piety. This is strictly operational physics for human consciousness.
Operational physics. I like that.
Yeah, because pleasure seduces your action, right?
Yeah.
Sleep dissolves your attention. And both success and insults transfer your authority away from your deliberate will. He attacks them because they are feedback loops that drain your battery.
Success and insults being paired together is just crazy to me. On the surface, they are exact opposites.
Right, totally different feelings.
Getting praised at work feels amazing, and getting criticized feels terrible. But structurally, you're saying they do the exact same thing to the human mind. They both try to relocate your center of gravity outside of your own chest.
Exactly. And the notes actually point out that praise is subtler and way more dangerous for the practitioner.
Really? More dangerous than an insult.
Yeah, because an insult announces itself as an enemy. You know you are being attacked, so you can brace your will against it. But success disguises itself as your destiny. You puff up, your ego inflates, and suddenly you are completely reliant on the external world to maintain your self-image.
Which means your authority is leaking, you are reacting again.
And there's a very uncompromising secret buried in this text. Reality only obeys a consciousness that is capable of obeying itself.
Oh, wow.
I mean, if you cannot command your own reaction to a compliment, how could you possibly command the invisible forces of nature?
You can.
Right. This draws heavily on the Neoplatonic philosopher Plotinus.
Yeah.
He argued that the human soul descends into a lower state by attaching itself to multiplicity, to all these shiny, distracting things pulling at our attention.
Like notifications on a phone.
Exactly. The soul ascends by recollecting unity. Any unnecessary attachment fragments your force.
So it's like having 300 browser tabs open in your brain. You can't execute a heavy program because your RAM is completely eaten up by background processes.
Yes. Worrying about an insult, chasing a compliment, craving an app.
Levy is saying you have to close all the tabs. You have to insulate your will. Okay, but let's say you do it. You become absolutist. You are detached and your will is a laser beam.
Right.
How does that insulated will actually move the world? Because the modern instinct is to view magic as dominating nature, like a superhero forcing the universe to do their bidding.
Yeah, that's the Marvel movie version. But Levy is pulling from Renaissance Hermeticism here. People like Agrippa and Paracelsus. They viewed the universe not as a bunch of dead, separate objects you can push around, but as a living system of nested analogies.
The famous maxim, as above, so below.
Exactly. The human being is a microcosm of the entire universe. Paracelsus believed that human organs aren't just isolated biological machinery. They're the earthly terminals of celestial principles.
Earthly terminal. So like the liver corresponds to the macrocosmic principle of Jupiter.
Right, and the nervous system corresponds to Mercury.
Here's where it gets really interesting for me. If you want to influence the world, you don't reach out and grab it. It makes me think of tuning a radio.
Oh, that's a great way to look at it.
Like, if you want to listen to a specific station, you don't try to force the radio tower to broadcast to you. And you don't dominate the signal. You just tune your internal dial so precisely that the external signal has absolutely no choice but to play through your speakers.
To take that radio analogy further, the ancient Stoics used the term sympathia, which means hidden participation.
Hidden participation.
Yeah, they believed the cosmos was one giant, tense, living body. If you strike one string on a lyre, another string across the room hums invisibly in response.
Wow.
So when Levy says you must govern the mind within your own organs, it is a terrifyingly literal mechanic. To govern your inner organ is to govern the universal force it corresponds to. You have to become internally homologous with the force you are trying to direct.
Okay, let's ground that phrase for the listener. Internally homologous. What does that actually look like in practice? Because it sounds incredibly abstract.
It just means structurally identical.
Structurally identical.
Yeah.
Got it.
So if you are trying to command chaos in your external life, maybe a volatile situation at work or a crisis in your family, you cannot have chaos in your mind.
Because then you're just adding to the static.
Right. You have to perfectly embody the stillness you are trying to project. If you are vibrating with anxiety, you are structurally identical to anxiety, and you will only magnetize more of it.
You have to arrange the architecture of your own nervous system to match the outcome you want.
Exactly.
Okay, I see the logic. The blueprint is set. Levy writes, his life must be a will directed by a thought.
Right. The thought provides the form. In Kamala, that's Baina.
Okay, yeah.
And the will provides the energy, which is Chokma.
But here is the massive roadblock. The human intellect is just a leaky bucket.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, I can sit here and try to hold a profound, structurally identical metaphysical concept in my mind, but like 12 seconds later, I'm thinking about an unpaid electric bill or what I'm having for lunch.
Or checking your email.
Exactly. So if this level of absolute, unbroken internal governance is required to command the universe, How on earth do we keep our minds from wandering?
Well, Levy was actually a former Catholic seminary student. He understood intimately why religious liturgy and ritual space work.
They don't work because they present a good intellectual argument.
Right. They work because they physically trap the idea in the body. If the human intellect is a leaky bucket, you have to bypass the intellect entirely. Levy's solution is total sensory saturation.
I love this part of the notes. Binhad breaks down this quote from Levy. It goes, "One must translate the magical idea into light for the eyes, into harmony for the ears, into perfume for the nose, into tastes for the mouth, and into forms for the sense of touch."
It's brilliant.
He isn't telling you to do this to make the room feel spooky. He realizes we are trapped in a meat suit. So he's basically saying, if your mind keeps wandering, you need to build a customized VR room for it.
That VR room analogy hits the nail on the head. In antiquity, this was known as Neoplatonic theurgy, literally God work.
Bad work. Okay.
The goal is to draw abstract, divine ideas down the ladder of emanation into dense material vessels. You start with the eyes, which esoteric traditions view as the seat of the solar intellect.
Right.
And you push the concept all the way down to the skin, which is the absolute boundary of the physical ego. It's a Kabbalistic descent, right, from Keter down to Malkuth.
The notes actually connect this to a fascinating Hebrew concept called Devar, and I think this is where the mechanics of this whole system really click together.
Yeah, Devar is a profound linguistic concept because it simultaneously translates to three things: word, thing, and act.
Word, thing, and act all at once.
All at once. In this framework, speaking a word isn't just making a sound, it is the physical initiation of reality. The intent has to move from the invisible will into the spoken word and finally solidify into a physical act.
Without that actual physical expenditure of energy, without the incense, the movement, the spoken vibration, the notes point out that the ritual is just a masturbatory fantasy trapped in your cerebral cortex.
Exactly. The abstract idea has to become a heavy, dense brick in the real world.
So this completely reframes all the classic magical props. Take a pentacle, for instance. Pop culture tells us a pentacle is just spooky jewelry to keep demons away.
Right, like a ward.
Yeah. But under Levy's operational physics, what is it?
It is essentially a metaphysical zip file.
A zip file. That's perfect.
It is a dense crystallization of macrocosmic forces, mathematically compressed into a geometric shorthand. Your fragile human mind cannot hold the raw concept of universal equilibrium for very long without breaking focus.
Because of the leaky bucket.
Exactly. But it can look at a piece of engraved metal. Levy uses the word translate, but he means it in the archaic Latin sense of translatio, which meant to physically relocate a relic from one place to another.
Oh, wow. So by making a pentacle, you are physically relocating a spark of thought from the unmanifested realm into the stubborn physical world. It's cognitive scaffolding.
That's exactly what it is, cognitive scaffolding.
Okay, let's step back and look at the machine we've built here. The mind is insulated from feedback loops of praise and insult.
Check.
The will is internally homologous tuned like a dial to the hidden correspondences of nature. And the intention is anchored in the meat suit through sensory saturation so the mind doesn't wander.
Right.
The final stage is how this actually impacts the fabric of reality. And this is where I need you to clarify something, because the text introduces a term that sounds like, I don't know, pure fantasy.
You mean the astrolight?
Yeah, the astrolight. Levy says the operator interacts with the astrolight. He describes it as a cosmic, gelatinous medium that records and transmits forces.
Yeah, it does sound a bit out there.
Wait, hold on. We were just talking about rigorous psychological self-mastery, cognitive scaffolding, and neural architecture. Now we are talking about, like, invisible cosmic jelly. How does this fit into a psychological framework?
I know. It sounds like a massive leap into science fiction. But we really have to look at the scientific context of Levy's era. In the 19th century, physics was grappling with the concept of the luminiferous ether.
The ether, right?
Yeah, an invisible medium that allowed light waves to travel through the vacuum of space. Levy basically adopts this idea for consciousness.
Oh, I see.
If a thought is going to affect the external world, there must be a medium through which that force travels. He calls this the astral light. It is the connective tissue of the universe.
And to interact with this connective tissue, the notes say he hijacks a pseudoscience craze from his time, Franz Mesmer's concept of animal magnetism.
Right, mesmerism.
Levy says the magus has to become a literal magnet, which makes sense since the Greek root for magnet, magnes, refers to a stone with an invisible drawing power. But how do you psychologically become a magnet?
We don't do it by visualizing really hard. You become a magnet through that brutal ascetic discipline we talked about in the beginning.
The insulation.
Exactly. By detaching from pleasure, sleep, success, and insult, you stop leaking energy outward. You pull it inward. You saturate your subconscious with your single intention until your very energetic signature changes.
And in physics, nature abhors a vacuum.
Precisely. By completely withdrawing your reliance on the external world, you create a profound energetic vacuum inside yourself that the universe is structurally forced to fill.
But here's the massive catch. This is the grand paradox of Levy's entire system. The text says that once you have done all this grueling work and you are sufficiently magnetized, the object of your desire will come to you, but only without him even dreaming of it.
Yeah, this is the ultimate law of detachment, and it requires a deep, deep understanding of human psychology.
Here you have to not care.
Right. Levy mixes this with the Hebrew concept of kavanah, which means intense, laser-focused intention. But there is a psychological trap. If you obsess over the result, you are actively confessing to the universe that you lack it.
Oh man, think about the mechanics of obsession. You only obsess over what you don't have.
Exactly. So if your mind is screaming, I need this to happen, your energetic signature is broadcasting lack. And if you project lack into the astrolight, you magnetize more lack.
So if I desperately want a promotion and I do all this psychological architecture to align my will, but I spend every waking moment craving that promotion, I am literally using my hyper-focused will to burn the reality of not having a promotion into the universe.
You hit the nail on the head. You are tuning your internal radio to the frequency of absence. To collapse the wave and make it reality, you have to digest your desire so completely that your egoic craving vanishes.
Digest it completely.
You have to embody the state of already having it. And when you already have something, you don't obsess over it. You don't dream about it. It just is.
Let me just summarize the sheer irony of this for the listener. Think about the journey here. You do all this all-consuming work. You train yourself not to react to your boss yelling at you or a stranger praising you.
Right.
You deny yourself immediate gratification. You build a sensory VR room of incense and geometry to stop your leaky intellect from thinking about unpaid bills. You align your inner nervous system with the macrocosm.
It's exhausting just listing it.
It really is. You do all of this to build a hyper-focused absolute will to achieve a specific goal, only to reach the final step, where you are required to completely let go of caring whether the goal happens or not.
Is a violent, gritty sort of patience.
Violent, gritty patience. That is exactly what it is. Because you aren't giving up. You are just holding the architecture so perfectly that you don't need to push anymore.
When you look at the mechanics laid out in Hod's notes, Levy completely strips the glamour away from magic. It isn't a shortcut to getting what you want.
No wand waving.
No wand waving at all. It places the entire terrifying burden of creation squarely on the architecture of your own mind. It demands that you resolve all of your internal friction. And once that internal tension is zero, the external reality simply snaps into alignment because the macrocosm and the microcosm are finally matching.
It is a stunning reframing of what it means to exert power in the world. So to everyone listening to this deep dive, let's just trace the path we've walked today.
It's quite a path.
It really is. We started by throwing out that episodic grimoire magic. No more doing a quick ritual and just going back to your messy life. We realized that true laziness isn't resting, it's inertia.
Being hijacked by every passing breeze.
Exactly. We learned that to build an operational will, you have to master the feedback loops of success and insult so your center of gravity stays firmly inside your own chest.
And we saw how to anchor that fragile will in the physical body through sensory saturation, building a cognitive scaffolding for your intellect.
Right? And finally, we discovered the mechanics of the astral light. You have to become a vacuum by digesting your desire until you no longer project lack.
It requires a complete systemic inversion of how almost all of us live our daily lives.
Which brings me to a final thought I want to leave you with today. Something for you to mull over the next time you find yourself, just reacting to the world. If Eliphas Levi believed that everyday distractions, reactive emotional weather, and the desperate need for external validation were the ultimate enemies of this powerful, magical self-mastery, what would he think of our modern reality?
Oh, no.
Think about it. We literally carry devices in our pockets that are specifically engineered by thousands of psychologists to constantly fracture our attention. They are built to provoke our emotional outrage, to serve us personalized insults and successes, and to keep our center of gravity permanently outside of ourselves.
That is a chilling thought. We are existing inside a global engine of inertia.
Exactly. The question isn't really whether 19th century magic is mathematically real. The real question is, in the modern attention economy, are any of us still capable of pulling it off?
Probably not without a lot of work.
So the next time you picture a magician drawing a jagged chalk circle in a dark basement, maybe ask yourself what kind of circle you've drawn around your own attention. Thank you for joining us on this custom deep dive. We'll catch you next time.